What's up, guys? This is Aaron with 365 days of thought-provoking questions, and the question of the day is, from what perspective do you tell your stories? Now, I mean all of your stories. When you're telling someone about the cab ride that you took, what perspective are you telling that from? Okay, so if something bad happens to you in life, and you go on to tell that story, you're going to want the person that you're telling the story to feel bad for you if you take the approach of being the victim within that story. So what I'm asking you to do is, I'm asking you to take an active role in the storytelling that you do. I want you to take an active role in figuring out what perspective you're telling the story from. Because you could tell the story from any perspective. The victim, the champion, whatever it is that you're feeling for the day, or whatever it is that you whatever color you want to shade that story, that's how you're going to tell it. And as you tell that story on and on and on, it perpetuates itself, and it builds and it builds and it builds, and you become even more victimized in that story a majority of the time. So what I want you to do is take that active role, think about how you're telling the story, think about what it is that you're trying to convey, whether you're trying to get that person to feel bad for you, whether you're trying to get that person to think of you in a certain light, or think of this other person in a certain light who's involved in the story, or just in general. Because I think if you take an active role and you take a step back and really look at how you're telling the story, you can just tell the truth, and that's good enough. That makes the story a story. But when you shade it with your perspective and your experiences, it becomes untrue. So if you're going to tell a story, you might as well just tell the truth, and you might as well just be honest in the situation, because that story is good enough. There's no inflections needed on how bad things were. They're going to get that message. It's going to come across as whatever the message is, but you don't need to shade it. You don't need to color it. Now, the reason why I say this is we're moving ourselves away from being the victim. We're moving ourselves away from thinking like a victim, okay? Now, there are certain stories and there's certain things that happen where, of course, you are the victim and there is something bad that has happened to you, and I totally understand that. We've all had bad things happen, but what I really want you to do is, when you tell that story, don't continue to perpetuate yourself as this person. I want you to build yourself up bigger. I say this a lot, okay? I want you to build yourself up big, and part of that is telling your story in a big way. Telling your story in a way where you feel like you've conquered something. You feel like a champion no matter what it was that happened to you. You conquered it and you got over it. It's good because you made it. It's good because you're strong. It's good because you got over it and you got through it, okay? So that story changes when you change your role within the story. So from what perspective am I telling this story? Before you tell the next story is the question that you ask yourself. Guys, that's my time for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please share, follow, subscribe, like, thumbs up, thumbs down, I mean, whatever, comment, whatever you want to do. I appreciate everything that you give to me here. Again, I'm going to be back tomorrow with another question and another video. Until then, be well.